So I'm going to do something a little different tonight. I have a new dating column called Joyride in a magazine called Rebellious Magazine. So I'm going to read the essay I just had in there. I read in The Atlantic recently that we're in the middle of a sex recession. I panicked. I have been through a sex recession before, and it's not pretty. That was my own personal recession, but now it's a national crisis. So I'm hoping we can get through this, can't we? So the idea of a sex recession, it became fodder for conversations on radio, television, and some side stories after an article in The Atlantic cover story called "Why People Are Having So Little Sex" by Kate Julian. Apparently, people still want to write about it and talk about sex and think about sex. They're just not having any sex. So just talking about a sex recession gives me anxiety. I have lived enough of my adult life in a sex recession. Sometimes even in a complete stock market crash depression, with a few really fabulous boom times. But my boom times have never lasted that long. And while I may not be in a boom time right now, I am certainly rolling along and not willing to have another recession. It makes me feel better learning that this recession is something experienced by young people. I am no longer young. Social media has given us this idea that young people are having sex all the time, with lots of lip lifting and that tongue wagging thing that they do, and a lot of cleavage. Tinder, Bumble, swipe right, swipe left. Social media would have you believe that you can have sex anytime, and all you have to do is decide what you want, get laid, fall in love, whatever. Women are claiming the title of slut, refusing to be shamed. There's a plethora of sex advice articles. They're everywhere. And S&M, non-monogamy, threesomes, which used to be on the fringes, it's all rolled into the mainstream now. LGBTQ folks, nobody's got to worry about it anymore. Sex is everywhere. How can there possibly be a sex recession? Maybe it's that sex is being talked about and put all over social media, but people aren't experiencing it. Maybe that online find it fast culture might not be the key to good sex, or any sex at all, for that matter. I think owning our own sexuality seems so simple, but in a world that objectifies women and degrades women, that women's sexuality, it's not really that simple. Women are still expected to be polite, to not hurt anyone else's feelings. Ownership over our own wants and desires is still not the norm for women in our society, no matter how many women are owning that title of slut. Women's bodies are used to sell everything, from lip balms to cars. While society becomes more and more diverse, all our bodies are supposed to look the same, the body du jour. When I was young, our bodies were supposed to be skinny, skinny, skinny with big breasts. Now women are supposed to have big butts and hips and big breasts and little tiny waists. Our bodies are wrong, no matter what. So with all that pressure, it's really amazing that anyone has really good, real, completely consensual sex. There's so many layers of shame and falsity to remove before we can really get to what we want. So this Atlantic article is talking about a sex recession for young people. But what about a sex recession for Gen Xers? Is that there too? So I don't know if that's been explored. But I think that society gives us this idea that sex is for the young and the hot, right? Sex is only for those that look like this whatever latest marketing fad. But did you have your best sex ever when you were young and inexperienced? Or that when you were a little bit older and you knew what you were doing? I've certainly not found that when I looked best to be the best sex I ever had. I think many women post-divorce or post-long-term relationship feel they are just coming into really claiming their sexuality. I certainly know this is true for me. I think there's less worry about being perfect once you know you've been through that loss. Once you know you are not and you will never be perfect. Or maybe it's once you accept that fact. A perfect body, whatever that is absolutely unnecessary for good sex. Or maybe to put it another way, our bodies are all perfect for good sex. Sex is one of those things that, for me, has improved as I age. And why? I think that learning what is most pleasurable and how to ask for what I want, I think it took some time to find that comfort level. I think my body is not what it used to be, and I find there's wrinkles in places I didn't know. I actually never knew you could get wrinkles. But I like my body so much better than I ever did when I was young. It's mine, and it has this ability to do all of these amazing things when I choose to do them. I have learned how to say no. While it's still uncomfortable to disappoint somebody, I say no directly when I'm not interested. This seems so obvious, right? But really, for women, it takes practice. And I think that part of that saying no is part of saying yes. And I have learned how to say yes, not just fall into something. I say what I want and what I need. And I feel so much more in control of my body and my sexuality, owning my body and sharing it when I choose. And really, that's the key, isn't it? Owning our bodies and our pleasure and owning our sexuality. Good sex has so much more to do with self-acceptance than anything else. The more I'm in charge of my body, the less I have to worry about a sex recession.